How could the government of the United States, crafted and considered to possess the most prudently limited powers of any government in the world, prohibit a competent adult from growing or ingesting an ordinary plant, such as coca leaf or hemp? And how can it impose such staggeringly disproportionate punishment, compared, for example, to the punishment imposed on many persons convicted of murder, on an individual who inhales the products of such a plant? The answer is that where there is a political will, supported by popular opinion and powerful factional interest, there is a legal way, paved with the legal fictions necessary to do the job. At the end of the 18th century, operating in the context of the old practice of slavery plus the new principle of apportioning congressional seats by population, the manufacturers of legal fiction fabricated the ingenious and ignominious concept of three-fifths persons. Since 1914, the politicians' desire to control the use of certain common plants and their biologically active ingredients, together with the public's fascination with and fear of certain glamorized and scapegoated substances, has led to the fabrication of analogous legal fictions to justify the prohibition of the production, and even for private use, of plants or substances deemed dangerous by the government. The trick to enacting and enforcing crassly hypocritical prohibitions, with the conniving of the victimized population, lies in not saying what you mean and avoiding direct legal rule-making. Thus, the founders did not declare, in so many words, to justify slavery, in the slave states blacks shall be counted as property, and to apportion more congressional seats to the slave states than they would have on the basis of their white population only, black slaves shall be counted as three-fifths persons. Similarly, our lawmakers do not say, we shall impose draconian criminal penalties on anyone within the borders of the United States who ingests marijuana he has grown on his own land for his own personal use only. What then do they say? Why do legal scholars consider such a prohibition to be constitutional? The answer to these questions is briefly this. Under the police power, the states can prohibit a wide range of activities regarded as endangering the public welfare. For example, gambling, obscenity, and drugs, notably alcohol. However, Congress has no police power over the nation as a whole. That is why making the sale of alcohol a federal offense requires a constitutional amendment. However, there is another route to federal drug prohibition, namely, through the Constitution's Commerce Clause Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, which empowers Congress to close the doors of interstate commerce to any unwanted product. Thus, the key subterfuge undergirding the alleged constitutionality of our federal anti-drug laws is that their purpose is to protect commerce, not to punish persons for crimes. But where is the commerce in producing the plant for one's own use only? Or in picking the plant found growing in the wild and ingesting it? Congress has the right not only to pass laws which shall regulate legitimate commerce among the states and with foreign nations, but has the full power to keep the channels of such commerce free from transportation of illicit or harmful articles, to make such as are injurious to the public health outlaws of such commerce. In his scholarly review of the constitutionality of drug laws, Thomas Christopher concludes that there has been no serious discussion by the Supreme Court of the overall constitutional question of drug regulation. It would seem that that issue is too well settled. Here we come to the nub of the matter. Under the pretext of the Commerce Clause plus the prevailing medical legerdemain about the dangerous drugs, the Supreme Court has, in effect, become the mouthpiece of the Food and Drug Administration and of organized American medicine. Christopher puts it more elegantly. The court, he writes, has always shown great respect for the Food and Drug Administration, and for its administrative findings and rulings. Doubtless this is owing to the fact that health matters are involved. The Commerce Clause as a decoy for the paternalistic prohibitory purposes of drug laws is a contemporary example of the use of powerful legal fiction in the service of a popular cause. But the therapeutic state thus engendered is no fiction. The Whitford case exemplified the implausible ends to which the means of Congress's right to regulate commerce may be put in order to justify depriving Americans of their right to manage their own self-regarding, drug-think behavior. In 1940, pursuant to the Agricultural Adjustment Act of 1938, an Ohio farmer named Roscoe C. Coburn was allotted 11.1 acres for his 1941 wheat crop. He sowed 23 acres. Seeking exemption from the regulations, asking the court to enjoin him from enforcing the act against him. The lower court ruled in Stillburn's favor. But in Whitford versus Stillburn, the Supreme Court reversed the decision, holding that the act could be applied to Filburn. What was Filburn's defense? That he used his crops to feed part to poultry and livestock on the farm, some in making flour for home consumption, and keep the rest for the following feeding. The Supreme Court ruled against Filburn, declaring the act includes the definition of market and its derivatives so that as related to wheat in addition to its conventional meaning it also means to dispose of by feeding in any form to poultry or livestock YH, or the products of which are sold, bartered, or exchanged. Hence marketing quotas. Also what may be consumed on the premises. Penalties do not depend upon whether any part of the wheat is sold or intended to be sold. Note the court's redefinition of the word market so as to include one's own needs, and its candid admission that such redefinitions may legitimately be manufactured ad hoc, in this case, as a related to wheat. The result of using the Commerce Clause as a pretext for drug prohibition is that, de facto as we have de jure, the American government is empowered to deprive us, as it sees fit, of our ancient freedom to grow, on our own soil, for our own consumption, any crop of its choosing,